And now I would like to pass voice to Maria Madise, Director of the International Affairs at the Society of Protection of Unborn Children. And Maria will tell us also about the abortion and how the radical feminist movement is using abortion in this misleading way, saying that it's something about women's rights. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carolina. It is an honor to address this panel. And my remarks will be much more practical from the perspective of a political pro-life campaigner, summarizing some of the points made today, but above all, seeking to demonstrate why Poland is a wonderful example to us in that fierce battle for authentic human rights today. We in the international pro-life community, I want to say straight away, truly applaud the Polish people who have taken a stand in protection of unborn children and have now come under intense attack, encouraged by the worldwide pro-abortion media. We totally support your continuing efforts to ensure this protection will be fully established and maintained in your laws for generations to come. By this historic ruling last month, the Polish Constitutional Tribunal has set the truth about the sanctity of human life from conception before the entire world. This ruling seeks to restore protection to the lives of the most vulnerable children, those who are disabled and not yet born, as well as to give the support needed to their mothers, to welcome and love them regardless of their special needs. And it would be really difficult to overestimate the significance of this judgment in the global struggle to defend human life from conception. Our pro-abortion enemies, supported by national as well as international institutions, understand that fact only too well. And so in response, they seek to mobilize women, create a conflict of interest, and renew their attacks against the most vulnerable of unborn children under the deceptive guise of women's rights. As we've discussed today, an authentic human right can never be a threat to the right to life. Furthermore, authentic human rights can never be separated from our duty to protect innocent human life. And this is especially true for women, who are particularly called to nourish and care for life. It is our experience throughout many legal battles that only moral absolutes reflected in national and international law can really protect the society's weakest and most vulnerable human beings. Therefore, a law permitting the killing of an unborn child can never be a just law. The legalized killing of unborn children who may be suffering from a disease or a disability can never comply with authentic human rights. It is evident, therefore, that the so-called women's rights, as they were championed and still are championed on the streets of Poland, are not authentic human rights. On the contrary, pro-abortion fake rights of women are an attack on womanhood, and their attack and betrayal of mothers when they need support the most. What do pregnant women need? They need accurate, up-to-date information about care practices and resources available for individuals with disabilities and their families if they are faced with that reality. The experience of our post-abortion counseling service called Abortion Recovery Care Helpline, supported by international research, shows very clearly that many women who have aborted their children on the grounds of a disability are especially traumatized. And why is that? These women, who often wanted the child very much, find it particularly difficult to come to terms with the fact that they chose to abort their sick baby when that baby needed them the most. By comparison, mothers who gave birth to their child, even knowing that the baby would die soon after birth, emphasized the peace experienced at the time of natural bereavement. In England and Wales, almost all, but certainly over 90% of babies suspected of having Down syndrome are aborted. As prenatal testing is becoming more widely available and strongly recommended, women may feel that it is irresponsible to opt out. International studies, on the other hand, show that in stressful situations and often without receiving adequate explanation regarding what a certain diagnosis may involve, or when they are unable to comprehend this information fully, women find it easiest to comply with what they believe is the recommendation of healthcare professionals. A 2012 Norwegian study demonstrates that while screening technologies increase options, they also effectively decrease choice, and that is freely made decisions. The new prenatal tests, such as non-invasive prenatal testing in the UK, target children with Down syndrome. This is, of course, deeply disturbing. It signals the determination by our government officials to eliminate people with Down syndrome and others with disabilities. This is clearly a form of prenatal quality control. This is modern-day eugenics. It is deciding that some human beings are not good enough, are not useful enough by our standards. And this is sending an awful message to disabled people in our society, saying, what good are you? You just suffer and die. In fact, it would be better if you had not been born. Abandoning the legal protection for the disabled children has created a social expectation to get rid of them. And this is a huge attack on humanity, on unconditional love, on security for anyone. Because once we accept that pain and suffering can be eliminated by eliminating people, where could one draw an end? And now this large-scale attack on humanity and authentic human rights has been launched by instrumentalizing women at the time they can be very vulnerable. In 52 years, abortion in Britain has spread from what was intended as strictly restricted to an epidemic. Now, under the lockdown rules, abortion is just a phone call away, available in your own home. A woman, perhaps isolated and confused, perhaps pressured by others, perhaps in abusive relationships, can kill her own child with pills she has obtained by mail, according to fake women's rights. Those who advocate for such so-called rights paint a picture of a calm, cool, collected woman who, weighing her options with expert advice, decides freely. But overwhelming evidence shows that the reality of women, so to say, benefiting from these so-called rights, is a woman who is cornered and feels she has no choice. A 2012 Brazilian study found that while women did not always fully understand the disability their baby was diagnosed with and needed greater attention by health professionals than they received, yet it showed when the option of continuing the pregnancy was chosen, a feeling of intense hope is observed, a feeling that change might be possible. As long as there is life, there is hope. We are therefore deeply grateful to the Polish court and people behind this ruling who have just given that hope to mothers and their families by determining that the abortion of children diagnosed with disability is incompatible with the Polish constitution and numerous principles of international law. Indeed, according to the preamble of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, children with disabilities should fully enjoy all human rights on an equal basis with other children. It would be highly hypocritical, therefore, to respect such equality for children only after birth and not before. We should also recall that the reservation presented by the Polish delegation during the ratification of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities stated clearly that one of its articles, number 25A, cannot be interpreted as a way of confirming the right of an individual to abortion or ordering the state to provide access to it. The Polish Constitutional Tribunal had already recognized the interrelated nature of the protection of human dignity and legal guarantees of the protection of human life in its judgment of 27 January 2004. In that stated, there can be no protection of human dignity if there are no sufficient grounds to protect life. Now, with the new ruling, the tribunal has truly ruled in favor of human dignity, fully in line with the preamble of the Convention of Rights of Persons with Disability, according to which discrimination against anyone on the basis of disability is a violation of the inherent dignity and value of the human person. The moral blindness, as so eloquently explained before by Gabriel Kubi and other speakers of our society, has grown to the extent that the killing of 50 million unborn children each year is no longer considered a crime that cries out to heaven. Consequently, millions of women walk the earth wounded to the core in their femininity, in their motherhood, in their ability to love, to say nothing of those who all share in these wounds, even if they all share responsibility for inflicting them. The extensive permissiveness is sadly the trend in virtually every country where abortion was legalized in so-called hard cases. That is, in cases when the baby has been conceived in rape, or in cases when the baby has been diagnosed with a disability. And in none of these countries did it stop at these so-called hard cases. Once a country has abortion, in certain cases it has abortion. And it is extremely difficult to turn around. Poland is set to go against all odds in doing just that, in reversing the injustice and harm done to its people and its culture. The pressure on pro-life Poland to give in is immense, from powerful voices from within as well as without. However, those powers don't love life. They don't love women. They don't love Poland. Polish pro-life laws are not merely laws that represent certain values and are dear to Polish people. They really show who you are. A civilization can be judged by how it treats its most vulnerable members. Unborn children are the most vulnerable members of the human family. While a mother's womb should be the safest place, it is statistically one of the most dangerous places to live. Unborn children with disabilities, in turn, are the most vulnerable among the unborn. It is therefore the protection of these children and their families that is the core criterion in evaluating the level of our civilization. Poland has illuminated the way to the rebuilding of a truly civilized society, where innocent life is protected from conception and mothers supported in their noble mission to nourish life. Thank you so much.